What's up, everyone? This is the Godfather Dictator.
And Sarah from 17.
Welcome back to my chapter 11 on my Ninja Gaiden 2 Master Ninja No Damage Run. Okay, so now, we're doing it like way later, guys, than the other chapter. I mean, it's been weeks since we did that, and we actually already did it, but the last time we did, there was a file that got corrupted because of like Discord and OBS working awesome that day.
I kind of feel bad too because I think we did a really good job with that one.
It was good. But now the interesting thing though is, of course, we will not necessarily remember what the hell we were talking about, but it's because I have a different perspective. Because a lot of you might not know, but I actually did a second no damage run, and that part here. I mean, you remember.
I remember it vividly, yeah.
Oh, my first no damage run. It took me 4 days. Of course, I was playing it on stream and a little bit off stream also because I was, getting pissed. But it took me 4 days to reach the first checkpoint. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that place is definitely one of the hardest in the entire game. There's no doubt about it, like, easily. But one thing that I've noticed in that one, and is that silly thing of the first run, is I'm really stupid when it comes to not using...
Stubborn, not stupid.
Well, yes, I'm really stubborn. Come to not using Nimbo, because once you reach that chapter, technically you're doing a no damage run, you're not buying any healing item or anything like this, so you're technically always supposed to have enough that you don't have to worry about the amount of Nimpo that you use here, And even up to a point where I'm keeping it for the Rasetsu fight, the spirit of the devil. But we have 2 in the bank, and I mean, I kept one also for Dagra Bay at the end. But it's even something that I realized on the second run that you don't necessarily need. And I guess in this one, I was, being probably a little more cautious because I didn't know what would happen ahead,
Yeah, you were fighting the unknown. Your second no damage run, you had the insights of the struggle. You knew what was coming. In this one, you kind of didn't because you'd never been there. So it makes perfect sense. I wouldn't say stupidity. I know you knew using Nimpo and using those items would have made it easier, but the part of you that's proud wanted to do it anyway. And you did it that way, so you get the luxury of doing it a different way the second time, which begs the question, do you think that this first run enabled you to do this part of the mission again on your second no damage run quicker because of what you learned?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it is guaranteed, because in the first one I was scared to lack, we'll say, the amount of Nimpo that I would need for later on. But then when you think about it, after that whole section, there is a shop. And again, you're supposed to have everything upgraded at that point, so it's guaranteed that the amount of essence needed, for example, to refill the shroom or the Nimpo is not a problem. So roughly, if we think about it here, the amount of Nimpo that we could use, I mean, we could go, crazier and use the Spirit of the Devil to get more overall. But you can use 6. You can use 6 Nimpo. So you can use your 3 slot that are here, and then you can use another 3 slot later. And
that's a lot of flexibility too.
It makes a huge difference because, for example, in my second run, that fight here that I just did, well, I use a wind blade, and I don't give 2 shit about it, because that's the thing, okay, guys? Put in perspective, that's the difference between me saying, like, fuck it, I'm gonna use, what's available at my disposition here, and, get to that first checkpoint. And the difference is that one took me 4 days straight to do, being, stubborn, not stupid, being stubborn, not using Nimpo. And on the second run, it took me 40 minutes. So
it's a bit of a distinction.
It's a huge difference. And like, that's the same thing on that fight here in my second run. If I missed here in my first run, I would not use Nimpo. And again, that's really fucking stubborn. I'm not gonna say stupid, I was gonna say it again. But yeah, it's really stubborn. It's available, and you see, I've used one here, and I'm proud of myself in that run, at least for doing it, because.
Well, the good part is that you've earned the right to use it now.
Yeah.
You've gone through this. in that crucible of that hellish 4-day gauntlet that many of us witnessed. So in your second run, you can do what you want. You have nothing to prove.
No, I don't. And it's all on the second run. Like in my head, how I did it was more about efficiency than a certain showcase, trying to prove myself that I could do certain part without using input. You know, because while it's impressive, it is just more time put on it. That's it. Like that's what people gotta understand. A lot of time people would say, well, no, it's more impressive. It's more impressive from the perspective when you don't know how long it took, and then when it took you much shorter the second time. To me, now it's more impressive if I do it faster than if I use less nimpo. You know?
Well, you see, it's very impressive to use less nimpo, but it doesn't cheapen the experience or the effort taken to do it with nimpo.
Yeah.
There
no,
are many
exactly.
fights where you can use nimpo to completely avoid any of the encounter and have nowhere near the same amount of difficulty. This one kind of isn't like that because there's so many fights in a row, and at any moment it can go catastrophically wrong.
It can vary quick, and it's because there's also, you know, the pressure of me as a player when I'm getting closer and closer of reaching that spot. The stress builds up, you know. And
I feel like you're really good at controlling that.
well, yeah, for the most part anyway, because I mean, once, for example, you got close multiple time, it kind of lowered the stress level because you get used to it a little bit.
You
but
do, yeah.
Let's say the first time that I reached there, it was kind of, can we say, hectic. It was like, yeah, I was really scared. And one thing also that happened in my second run, and I'm mentioning it ahead because I thought it was odd, is here you notice, like, okay, there's a bunch of them coming in, you know, and I'm not going further, if you want, than the corner near the staircase, you know,
For obvious reasons.
yeah. In my second run, I do the same fucking thing, but I somehow despawn the rest of them. So once that happened, I was just like, fuck it, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not your fault. You did the exact same
no,
thing.
it's not my fault. And to me, it's like, okay, the game wants to give me a little break. Why not at that point, you know? Because the game never gives you fucking break. Like one time, what even happened there? I think it's in this run actually. I'm saying one time it even happened. I think you will see me using an impo. Okay, fireball nimpo. I have it upgraded so that it can hit 2 targets at the same time. I use it here, and
The panic.
and it will only kill 1 target, so I'm gonna have to use another one to get rid of the target. Not the end of the world, because we have a shop there, you know, there's no problem. But look at this, it was targeting both of them, then you see it, but where did the second one go? Just wrote 1 combo. Like, what happened there? The game cog blocked me, you know, pissing me off when
That was a bad one.
I'm near. To have to use 2 Nimpo here is kind of silly. On my second run, you see, I've used it the same fucking way, and I hit both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
There's some part, you know, a lot of times that are kind of inconsistent in that game. Another thing that I feel is worth mentioning is that you know those scroll down there that you can buy on Muramasa. How it works is that Farnham explained that to me, is that each time you miss a scroll or a life of God or anything like that, it goes into the shop. So in my second run, you will see me at the beginning of chapter 1, chapter 2, like literally get every scroll on every single body. And what I wanted to test out at that point is to see if, for example, from doing that maybe a jewel of the demon seal or something else would actually appear.
Would populate there as well.
And yeah, and the answer is no. So I mean, no. the try, you know, the idea was good behind it, but it doesn't do anything. That was a nice counter attack on, you know, on
It would be sick if you could get the Tessa Valor rewards
yes.
using that shop method.
Yes.
But they obviously thought of that.
Yeah, they did. It's, you know, it's funny you mention it, because that's exactly what I was thinking before. I was like, man, that would be nice if the item from the Tessa Valor would end up in the shop, because I probably mentioned it before, so sorry if I repeat myself again, but the Tessa Valor that would be worth doing on Master Ninja are the worst fucking combination of enemies that you can have in the game. So in the end, they're not worth doing just because of that. You know, like you're not gonna be able to do them. Like one I think that gives Jewel of the Immortal is the one with Red Wolf and Fiend Wolf. You know, or Fiend Dog. So
Yeah.
so
Look.
it's the problem with it is you know how they work. I've explained a bit the concept of the Fiend Wolf, and is that at first on that Fiend challenge, what would happen is that it's the Red Wolf that's going to be, you know, prioritizing you, but then once you dispatch all of them, who becomes active? The Fiend Wolf, and those guys, they're like something else. Especially that we fight them at the end of this chapter, and like we commit to the fight because I didn't want to skip like too much fight. You know how it is. I've explained that before. But that fight is still a fucking nightmare, and these dogs, it's a huge RNG, and they're very. I hate dogs in that game in general, and I love dogs IRL. You know, so
I just don't know how you're supposed to fight. They just react so well to everything you do, and outside of getting, you know, lucky kills on them and lucky juggles, it just, I don't know, man.
This is the same I was thinking. If you're not lucky, basically, when you're fighting them, because that will be the same thing. I'll explain that later on when we fight them in the chapter. But how these guys work, you know, and it's the same concept in chapter 4. I don't know. Do you remember the first part in chapter 4 where I'm fighting the dog? I know it's fucking far, but you know when I told you those guys don't.
Well, they take it in turns, don't they?
Yeah, they're taking turns, and the one that is supposed, you know, to be, for example, attacking me, are the one that's stuck, you know, behind the invisible wall of the stairs.
Stuck next to that building.
And that's just luck there. I mean, technically, sometimes when you move around, the one that is supposed to attack you is actually in your vicinity and is going to be attacking you. So that's the same thing further in the chapter. While I will be using, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but while I will be using a Nimpo that nobody ever fucking used in that game on Master Ninja, I mean, it was useful up to a point, but it was still a huge RNG. I'm not going to pretend that the strategy that I did is, like, reliable and that someone could do the same thing and manage to do it no damage. Yes, after maybe 100 tries, you know, so it's
well, it's doable, but it's not reliable.
Yeah, exactly. And the only reason why I wanted to do it is to prove that it was doable, but I don't think it's a fun fight. And the whole problem also with that section that I hate is that there's no save point after until you reach Genshin, and that's a huge problem, because if you want to fight, for example, those Fiend Ninja, you know, in that
that big fight,
that big field, you know, like is it like a mass graveyard or something like this?
Yeah, it's a graveyard of steel, isn't it? The swords in the ground.
Yeah, but that fight, like, I never even bothered to attempt it, well, for many reasons. One, Farnham told me that there's around 50 fucking Fiend Ninja there, so, like, to me, it's a bit like it's a Fiend Challenge or a Tessa Valor at that point, you know, with that amount of enemy. And the only strategy that I could think of that would have been doable is staying at the base of the mountain, you know, sight UT, shit like that. But to me, that's the same thing. It's not enjoyable to watch, and after you do that Archer and Fiend dog fight, well, do you really want to take chances before Genshin to be fighting like fucking 15 ninjas and take a chance of getting hit, you know?
15 ninjas where you have to redo the previous fight just to get to it, to attempt it.
Yes, it's fucking terrible, and you know, that's why, like, I'm always having a smile when I'm thinking about this, but I'm thinking in my head, if Farnham really decide to commit
Farnham's
to this,
all fight run,
dude, he's gonna have a really hard time. You remember that fight that I was?
I think he's done the Timmy gun. Has he made the challenge? It might not be completable.
Yeah, I think he did, because he admitted that the one with no UT, you know, no Nimpo and shit, he got stuck at chapter 11 on the Rasetsu fight, and like
it's really bloody hard.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, Farnham has great skill at the game. He proved that many times. But when I'm thinking, for example, about, you remember that fight that I was trying to do in chapter 9 with those cucumber from the water? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
The
do.
same guy that you fight in the acid game. Well, those type of fight, I mean, it's a fucking nightmare. And the other time
Yep.
I was really trying to do it, and I've decided to fucking skip it because it's just RNG, you know, and it's fucking terrible. I don't know.
It's
who-
also not fun.
No, it's not at all. And I don't know who thought that these enemies could be fun, you know? Side note, by the way, here,
Alcohol and Itagaki.
right? Here is one fight that I've noticed a lot of people despawn without knowing, okay? But when you're actually doing it, it's one heck of a fight. I mean, you can see right now
Look how many people there are.
there's a lot of fucking ninjas here. And obviously what I could have done, I repeated on my second run. You can use a Nimpo there and you're gonna
Yeah, if
clear.
you windblade that, goodness.
Yeah. When you
Everybody
windblade,
dies.
a lot of people will die and you barely have to fight after this. It's a lot more manageable. Here is me again being stubborn, guys, not wanting to use Nimpo. But then it took me, again, 3 times the amount of time that it took me on my second run to do it. So while the fight looked cool on this run, enjoy it, because on the second run, it's going to be cut off with 1 wind blade, and after maybe dispatching a couple of ninjas, and that will be it, you know? So appreciate the level of effort that was put in this one. Same thing here, by the way. I use wind blade too when...
This is a rough one.
This is another rough one. Not as bad as the actual one in the chapter 2, you know, when it's
Chapter
time
2
to,
is one of the worst rooms in the game for me.
it is. And also it was worse in the first run because main difference, second run I'm using
Your
level
upgrades,
3
right?
Lunar, and in the first run I'm using level 2 Lunar, huge difference. Sometimes you don't really
I think
notice
I used
it.
level 1 Lunar.
Oh
That's
my
how
god!
much fun
Oh
I
my
had.
god. Like, and it must have been hell because you use the 360 lunar attack a lot. So if you have to use the damn like level 1 lunar with the regular UT, I cannot even imagine the struggle, you know, that you've been through back then, you know.
Nah, it was also garbage at the game, so it helped.
Yeah, I know. You know, one thing that I've re-listened to and I thought it was funny is when you said that you were playing this game and that you came from Devil May Cry, and that at first you were not even blocking, you know, and,
Nope.
and that must have been
Nope.
that must
I
have
was
been
dodging.
something. Yeah, you were dodging by jumping, basically, you know.
Well, no, I was doing the proper dodge.
Okay, but you were not holding
Yeah,
it though.
Block. Like, one of the first things I learned to do in this game after I got bullied enough was at almost every moment I'm always holding left trigger.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you to do that. Because if you don't, you just come out of something and instantly get bummed.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
It's I found the transition from being a Devil May Cry player to Ninja Gaiden very difficult because they're so different in how you play them.
And you see, that was weird here. It's kind of like it cut off my ultimate technique. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the stairs or
Too much cheese.
too much too much cheese, right?
Too much dairy products, yeah.
Fucked up the game. But you see, that's funny because me, it was the opposite as you. I came from Ninja Gaiden to Devil May Cry after, and then when I played Devil May Cry, I thought the dodge was like sublime, you know, in a way that it was very easy to just, you know, jump
Get the hell
around
out of there.
and get
Yeah.
the hell out of there. That was really interesting. And compared to it, though, you don't have block at all in Devil May Cry, so it's all about, you know, dodging. It's very different, you know. It's funny when the other time, don't remember who it was. I think it was Okami in the chat that said to him that, you know, Ninja Gaiden looked superior to Devil May Cry, and I don't know if you heard what I said about it, but in my head, these games are too different to be compared. So at that
Yeah,
point,
I
it
agree.
goes with personal preference on what game you like. I personally like both. People know that
As
I'm
do
more of an NG guy, and for you, would you be more of a
I'm more
Devil
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, there you go. But there's nothing wrong. It doesn't take out the fact that you can appreciate both. I just don't think that, you know, comparing those games like is appropriate because they're way too different and they try to aim at like different objective. You know, like this one gives you a lot of healing item, along the way, you don't get no
Well, so
damage.
does Devil May Cry if you use them.
Yeah, true. But Devil May Cry, when you get to the end of the mission, you did it no damage. You get the no damage bonus. You know, like it's kind of implemented in the game. To
Do you know why that is?
Why?
The person who invented it, Hideki Kamiya,
Yeah.
he came from shooting games, shoot 'em ups.
Okay.
Those games were notorious in Japan for giving you no miss bonuses. So when you beat the level and you didn't take any damage and die, you would get a nice handy bonus. And because they were designed to be score ran, and
Yeah.
because he came from that background, that's probably the reason that began, and that has now stayed as a core component to these character action games.
That's an interesting trivia that I would not have known. And when you mention it now, it kind of does make logical sense. You know, that you get rewarded for doing a mission, we'll say, flawlessly. You know.
That's one of the things that I will always respect about Kamiya. As much as he acts like a 9-year-old on Twitter, the guy is a genius, much like Itagaki was a genius in spite of enjoying the movie Armageddon.
Oh my god. So here
go.
we're coming to that section. You know, another thing that I do different in the second run, and it's another thing that's worth mentioning, is that here I shot, you know, the target that holds a Nimpo. Okay. But there is actually a target that holds Nimpo, a target that holds yellow essence, and a target that holds blue essence. And on my second run, because I didn't even know that on my first run, I never even really realized it, is that you can only shoot the target twice, and it gives you 3 Nimpo maximum from like shooting it, you know. But then, because I already shot it once, and I've used, you know, the essence to do an ultimate technique after, like, after the fight is done, unless it's a bug, we'll see, okay? But after the fight is done, technically, I'm just supposed to be able to shoot it once. So, it's giving me just 3 Nimpo back. The thing is at that point, I will have used like the Spirit of the Devil to get 4 Nimpo, because it's a really annoying fucking fight, you know?
Yeah.
But then, if I use the target that has the Nimpo at the beginning, after, when I use it one more time, I can only get 3. So it's like I will be missing 1. Again, not the end of the world, because after the fight, you got the shot, but it's just a way that it can make you save a little bit of essence, basically, at this point. Even though you don't have to. It doesn't make much a difference. It's just something I feel that people should know. You know?
One of the things I was curious about, and I think I might have mentioned it when you were doing this segment, you know how at the very beginning you shoot target, the 3 Nimpo essence comes out, and then you chain it into the on landing?
Yeah.
Did you ever mess around with using all 3 of your Nimpos and then hitting the target to replenish them? Because I know it's difficult to do in the heat of battle.
Yeah. No, because of that. I've thought about it. Yeah, because when you told me, I was like, man, that would be smart. The problem...
It's a free essence, isn't it, to do 3 Nimpos with? And
and if it's, for example, Piercing Void, max out like it is there, it does a lot of damage, and it does really... it would help out a lot. But then, you know, it's what you said. It's like, those guys, they rarely give you a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, would you have time to even be able to do 1 charge and fucking aim even when there's just 1 left, you know, much less when there's 3. So it's like, I don't know. I personally don't think I would be able to do it.
You need that mouse and keyboard, son.
I need I need that mouse and keyboard aim just for that part when it's time to be aiming, you know. Though I say it again, this one improved on one thing when it comes to aiming in that game, sensitivity choice. That makes a huge difference. In Ninja Gaiden Black, you have 1 default sensitivity, and like it's very hard to get used to.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's very hard. So this one does like a good thing in this game, and it gives you, you know, well, if you let it, can give you more mobility if you want your ADS, so it's more manageable.
Some rare footage there of TGD using the True Dragon Sword in Chapter 11.
Yes. Funny you mentioned that. So in my second run, You know, I use the Lunar. I use the Lunar to dispatch the ninja. Wonderful camera work there, by the way. Dispatch the ninja is more reliable. The problem with the Dragon Sword, and you heard me say it plenty of time before, and even up to a point sometimes the Tom fucking do it, not as bad, but it can happen, is that to be able to continue the ultimate technique, well, you need to be able to connect every hit of that teleport. Here I thought they were both dead, by the way, because you see
It would have been nice.
letting go of the charge, but then I'm like, no, I'm not taking any chances there. I think I'm going to 360 there when there's one left, and then finish him with the OT. So yeah, the Lunar more reliable to dispatch the ninja. In my first run, I committed to the True Dragon Sword, and the reason behind that is because it does more damage, but then it does more damage, but it's less reliable. And here, the reason why you don't see me shooting it again is because I had one nimble left, and it refilled the old nimble, so there was no point. But in my second run, I think I've used more piercing void, because again, it's at your disposition. Why not use them? I dispatch them faster, so that's why it applied. But in this run, I realize it does not, because I've just reshoot it one time, and because I had one nimble left, like it just refilled the entire thing. So here I always press start
GG,
here.
Godfather.
Yeah, GG, right? Yeah, good job. I always press start here because, like, after doing that previous fight, I'm hecka nervous. I'm hecka nervous, and one mistake that I did once, and it really pissed me off, is that I think I even do it here, by the way, on the first run. On the second run, I remember, but I forgot to switch Nimpo to Windblade, and I think the first Nimpo that I launch is Void. And here, by the way, I'm not even editing that part out in the video. Like, that pause is gonna stay there because it's too, if you want, it signifies
no splicing.
No splicing, but not only that, like, no, it doesn't matter because you cannot cheat the karma or anything like that.
Nice.
Yeah, no. What I'm no. Wait. What I'm saying is that it doesn't matter if I would edit that part and cut it off a little bit, because people would still see the karma that corresponds.
We also saw it live.
Yeah.
Even if you did remove that screen, which I would have removed that screen because that's the type of thing I do, but nobody can refute this because you watched it.
Yeah, no, it's
I
exactly.
congratulated you prematurely on this fight.
Yeah, because you thought it was done. You forgot that there was that section after, you know?
I thought you could go back and save, but they break the door.
Yeah, they do. And that's why, basically, I left it there on purpose, because I could have removed it, but I left it there to signify how much pressure there is going on into that fight here. And basically, when you see me pause, guys, is me going in the bathroom, you know, washing my hand and preparing myself, like, to possibly fail, actually, you know. And like, it's always nerve-wracking. You know that on my second run, you know what happened here once? I mean, here, that was bad, let's be honest. It was pretty scary. On my second run, one of them shot an incendiary shuriken there. It hit me through the fucking wall once. Like,
I believe it.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. It's like, you know, those perfect throw, and here I get lucky because I get a Nimpo drop later on, and I might even be able to use it in the fight. I'm not too sure, actually. Let's see what's gonna happen. I think this is it. But yeah, that it's the same thing as when they throw it on where you're going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
That predictive
That predictive, and that's really frustrating. So once we're here, you know, unclench anus, basically.
You got it in the bag.
Yeah, we got it in the bag. This chapter overall, though, is terrifying, and there's a lot of extremely hard part, even more coming up, you know. Next section in the tall grass, it's one of the worst. Like, I've explained that later more on another section, but have you heard me mention about certain section where there's certain steepness or elevation, and that it basically change how you behave like when hitting the enemies, but the enemy actually have the same fucking moveset. And that was funny the first time
I
you
love
laughed.
that part.
Yeah. I thought he was dead, you know?
Why didn't he die? Normally when they hit the water, it's game over.
Yeah, but not those guys, because I guess they
Mages,
float.
waterproof.
Yeah, they're waterproof. But it was funny though, because he was face down in the water, and at first, you know, my first thought was like, yeah, he's dead, all right. He drowned there. And then when I saw him get up, I was like, okay, maybe not.
Do you think it's because they're not a grounded enemy?
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah,
so
it's because
it
they're
counts him
hovering.
as a floating enemy, and thus he never touched the water. That's unusual. That.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of odd, but this is the only thing that would make sense to me. Also, this move loved to fucking troll me in the second run and actually not deal him them, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is kind of frustrating because it has a very high deal him rate, but a lot of time it would troll me and I would have to do multiple before I can deal him. So
well, you know what's good about that, don't you? When you finally do Ninja Gaiden 3 no damage and Razor's Edge no damage, you're gonna be welcome.
That's
welcome
what I'm
to
gonna
that
have to
mechanic.
do. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo it for like 10 times just to get a delim now. It's like it's
every move is like, will it delim today? Probably not. Try next Tuesday.
Yeah, that sounds fucking awful, by the way, because that part of the delim, I said it in this game, the amount of enemies you fight, it kind of makes sense that there's way to go for quick dealing to dispatch the enemy much faster, you know?
Well, it's almost a perfect mechanic in this game. It's so perfect, I don't know how they ruined it in Sigma 2 and Ninja Gaiden 3. Why not just leave it as it was? Because it's flawless.
Yeah. Well, because they thought, you know, that, for example, enemies with a higher base HP, I guess, and harder to deal in equals harder difficulty overall, you know?
They never stop to ask themselves the question, is it fun and is it Ninja Gaiden? Because it ain't.
Yeah. No, they I don't think they go through a lot of thought process on those type of thing, you know? They just go with what they think is good, but like...
Dude, when there's more effort gone into the titty jiggle, there's something wrong. I know Itagaki likes a bit of titty jiggle, because, you know, dead or alive and everything. But I can't even begin to wonder why they would make something that's this interesting and then spend the next 10 years ruining it.
Yeah, there's so many great things, you know, about the combat in that game when it works great. It's hard, actually. It's, you know, it's kind of unmatched, the combat in that game, because
there's nothing like this.
No, there's nothing. And even, you know, like yesterday,
even Ninja Blade, the greatest ninja game ever made.
Oh my god, I think Tom at some point got me that game, dude, on Steam.
Dude, you should play that. That'd be a fun stream.
Yeah, but the port is so trash, Chris, that I was
dude,
like...
the game is so trash, the port wouldn't matter.
Yeah, no, but that's why I was like, Tom, like, save your fucking money, please. Like, come on, man. It's like TK gifting you Black Ops on Xbox, you know, like...
Hey, I still put a lot of time into that.
Yeah, you did, but because he gifted you and you're someone respectful, that when someone gives you something that you know you could enjoy, you're gonna play it. But wait, if it's something you don't want to fucking play,
Dude,
you
I
won't
didn't want to play it. I did it out of guilt.
Right? The zombies and all, yeah. TK is extremely generous, but for this, I mean, he should have asked you. He should have asked you before.
If you got that on PC, I would have been quite happy.
Yeah.
Convinced some people to buy it, cough cough. And we would be playing a COD that's not absolute dog shit.
Right, yeah, totally agree with that.
Kind of dog shit.
Yeah, but not as dog shit as the other one.
No.
So basically, you know what I was saying earlier with the elevation is like, you don't notice it here, but every time like it's going up, you know.
Well, you can see the slope of here, can't you? The topography here is very inclined.
Yeah. But then they do it a lot more later on. You know, right after the time fight in this chapter. Well, basically, when you fight the mage in that section, it's one of the worst sections because of the elevation of going up. It's really weird. For example, if you're jumping from higher to lower, it extends your jump in the air, so it fucks up the timing for an on-landing that you're used to, you know? And I don't know, the whole section, even though it might look cool aesthetically, it's actually fucking trash to fight with, and they should have left like a even terrain when you fight in that game.
It's also a lesson that they didn't learn because everything you're explaining happens in Neo. How many times did you use certain movesets against certain enemies in certain places and you would completely whiff them? There were times you had to be in low stance to even hope to hit them.
And they could still hit you, I'm sure, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. That's the same freaking problem. Is that when it doesn't affect the enemy but affect you as the player, you know it's fucking bad. Because if not, it should affect both, you know? Like it should affect the enemy and the player at the same time, where the enemies have a chance to miss. But no, if they go for a grab, they're in higher elevation than you are, they'll still fucking grab you, you know? And that it should whiff. Again, like we're talking about changing a game that was designed, you know, years ago. They're never going to do anything about it, but we're just saying, you know, certain things that would have made it better overall and more balanced, basically, because that's one thing that this game lacks is balance, you know.
It's funny you should say that though, because you know, the more that we stare at it, the more that we bang our heads against it, you do see some moments of reserve. There are moments where Itagaki definitely held back.
Yeah, for example,
just go back to those dogs.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if every single dog was active the whole time? Every single Resetsu active the whole time instead of taking that weird turn that they do?
Well,
Can you imagine what this game would be like?
I would probably like it more, because then they would stop spamming the fucking wind blade
Well,
and all
exactly,
aggro.
there'd be less wind blade, right?
Like
and you'd kill them all with 360 UT.
Yeah, basically. I mean, there, as you say, they would be some disadvantage to that. For dogs, it would probably be terrible, but maybe for Rasetsu, if they were all active at the same time, it would be bad, but not necessarily as bad as one would think, because then maybe I would be able to, like, freaking land my True Dragon Sword UT more consistently, because then they would be more around me. So, like, it's an interesting question, you know, to think.
Because you played Metal Gear Rising, didn't you?
Yeah, I played a little bit, you know.
Played a little bit of that. Did you play a game called Transformers Devastation?
I saw you play it, I think.
Because that is a game where the enemies attack you from off screen, which is quite a rarity in a lot of Platinum's catalogue. And it reminded me of this game in that much, but I don't know if they obeyed that turn hierarchy that you noticed.
In this
I wonder if that game is just a free-for-all, or if it's very reminiscent of what they did here. Because it's been a long time since I've played it, which is a crime in and of itself.
Yeah. But you would have basically to replay it again to get...
And I'm going to, but in my mind right now, it makes me wonder if that learned lessons from this, or if in that game they all just smash you the whole time, because that's what it feels like when you're playing.
Yeah,
but
it
might
does.
not necessarily be that way, because this game feels like that until you notice it.
Well, you see, for example, when you're fighting Van Gelf, you deal him one, sometimes they go on the defensive and they dodge back, and then another one takes over.
Sidewalk.
Yeah, basically same with the IS ninjas. You know, they have that, you know, that weird monkey pattern. I'm saying, but that's why I guess every type of enemies, when you like pay attention in the game, has that weird kind of rotation, you know, that they go to. And here, because I get lucky with an Nimpo drop and I got one and I'm at 3. I don't know if I have a shroom left. I haven't paid attention. But it's going to be important to get, you know, more Nimpo in that area, because you're basically fighting unlimited amount of enemies. And the only way, though, to manage it without totally fucking cheesing the fight is to look both here and at the bottom of the hill. Like, you'll see how I move. But this fight overall is very fucking hard, but it's on the timer. You can either cheese it like the other, you know, no damage run there. That's what he did, basically. He went down the hill, and then they're just all stuck up here. So it's more manageable like this, I guess. But then to me, it defeats a bit the purpose of that fight. Because that fight...
also remember, folks, that there's no such thing as cheesing in Ninja Gaiden 2. There is merely giving Ninja Gaiden 2 a taste of its own bloody medicine.
Yeah, that's well said there. Because that fight...
This is a dirty game. A filthy game.
You're not going to hear me disagree with that, that's for sure. Because that fight is one fight for people that don't know, but I'm sure people that watch this will know. It's one fight that basically supposed to end when you're at low health, because, you know, Muramasa comes in.
That's how the triggers were designed to end it.
And show his, you know, his sword skill, you know. He has a better ultimate technique than Ryu, it seems. I would love to have his UT.
Dude, can you imagine if he was an unlockable character?
That would have been funny, actually. I would have loved to play as Muramasa, because...
World's first Muramasa no damage run. Here it comes, boys.
I mean, it's Chris, you know, if this game ever gets a PC port, there's someone that's gonna mod a skin for that, you know, guaranteed.
It could definitely happen.
You're gonna have some of those, but overall, that fight is on a timer, guys, and usually you need to take a certain damage to trigger the cutscene and get to the next one. But then here, because I fight non-stop, at some point the game, you know, will trigger the cutscene on his own. But it's definitely a really hard fight. I had a better time though on my second run, because I found like a good point where they would not always come down, and I would be able to charge for sight UT, you know, and deal him a good bit of them. Because right now I'm going for the bow, but like it's not really the best, because they can still throw their incendiary shuriken at you when you're doing it. And the reason why I'm looking behind is sometimes they spawn on a hill, you know, when you dispatch one of them, so you have to be extremely careful. And then there it is, cutscene trigger. So, by the way, this is exactly the part I'm talking about, where that fight is made of a fucking nightmare. Not because of the fight itself, but because of the fucking terrain, you know?
Yeah.
And it's awful. It looks good. It looks good aesthetically. It's fun. Okay, you're going up a mountain, you know, Mount Doom or whatever at the top of this. But to actually fight in here it's fucking trash, is all I'm gonna say. Because I've had a hard time on my first run. And on my second run, I stayed there much longer than I thought I would. So yeah, that fight is always annoying. Another thing that can be annoying is where these guys spawn. Sometimes they'll spawn like right in front of you like this and go for an insta grab, you know, after you're done doing an ultimate technique. And you know how it is, because you get no iframe after an ultimate technique here. You get insta grab basically, so it's not fun. And then
enjoy that one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And after this here, you get an archer that appear, and then same thing, you fight some fiend ninja. Camera here is terrible, and same goes for the connect. You see how it connect with this guy? The other guy is still alive because he went and got kicked at the end of the world for some reason. So that's the problem to me with this environment, is that it's unpredictable. You don't know where the enemy will end up at. You don't know if you're gonna get hit by the terrible fucking hitbox that it keeps for them, not for you. Overall, it's not a good fight. Not a cool fight.
No. And at this point, you're already so terrorized by what you've done that you could do with a couple of easy ones, a couple of breather fights, but the game just won't give them to you because it's just not the way. That's not the way of the Master Ninja.
Especially not on that chapter.
No. People remember this chapter for good reasons.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because I noticed that in one comment somewhere, I think that a guy does like chapter 1 supposedly no save, you know, but then he's on
single segment chapter 1.
But then he's on New Game Plus, you know, so again.
Does he have the camera on the screen this time?
No. There's another guy. He does not.
Dog shit,
no, they don't have. They don't have it.
This is really winding me up.
Yeah.
If you want to prove that you can single segment something, don't hide a factor of the screen that proves you did it single segment. Because all that tells me is you're a better editor than you are a player.
Yeah.
And I should know because I am exactly that.
But no, I couldn't agree more, Chris, with that. That's the thing. If you want to prove you do single segment, you leave the card on the screen, guys. If not, it defeats the purpose of what you claim you can do. And me, because I know how these things work, I will never believe someone that did something like that, because like there's no real indicator. The problem also is they remove the actual sound of the game usually and put music, which is even worse.
That's a big red flag.
It's even worse, you know, because then you don't have the original sound, so it's like you cannot base yourself off sound cue in the game, and it's not good.
Well, all that is to me is that they couldn't sync the audio when they spliced, and thus
Yeah,
put music on it.
pretty much. So that guy, what he said, basically overall, is that of course it's just new game plus, so it's not as impressive.
It's still, I mean, if he did it, it's still awesome.
Yeah, it's still awesome. Still awesome if he did it really
It's just
single
why
segment.
why would they let themselves open to this kind of criticism? Just tick that one box, and you will never have anybody like us on a video saying, "Where's the karma score?
Yeah.
Where's the proof?"
Yeah, no, it's like that's the thing.
Because I don't care what you say, I care what you can prove. And
Yeah.
when you have footage of it, why not just take that extra 5 seconds to make your footage bulletproof?
Yes, I mean, again, I can't add anything more. It is what it is. And that's the reason why I fucking show karma in my game. Because I want
got
people
to.
to be able to see the follow-up, that I haven't farmed like a fight in between to get 1,000,000 essence and you guys missed it. No, I'm fucking showing everything in that game. And basically, one guy that commented on that video just said that Asian player for that game think that the hardest chapter is 1, 2, and 11, you know? And it kind of
I
makes
would
sense
agree.
because that's the same thing for me. The reason why chapter 1 and 2 are so brutal is limited
Got nothing,
arsenal.
right?
You don't have, you know, leveled up weapons, so you're required to work, you know, with, well,
You work so much harder to get those victories than you would later on.
yeah, indeed. Even, for example, one thing that would make the beginning of chapter 2. So, okay, wait, before I gotta say it. This is the fight that I was mentioning, where I'm using the best Nimpo in the game.
Oh yeah!
Heart of the Phoenix, guys. On a serious note, though, it helps a little bit here sometimes. I think
Yeah.
it should have stayed like Fireball in Ninja Gaiden Black. I don't know how good it is leveled up. Sadly, you can never test it because you have to
It
level
looks
up.
really beautiful, I'll say that much.
It looks pretty,
It's a nice looking spell.
but that's about it. That's
Yeah, pretty much.
sometimes it helps a little bit, guys. Keep, you know, the fiend dogs at bay. Like sometimes you see it kicks them back a little bit, but if it was like the fire wheel, like it was in Ninja Gaiden Black, it would have been amazing. Because that's one of the Nimpo, if you think about it, in Ninja Gaiden Black is the only Nimpo that stays the same through the entire game. You don't level it up. It doesn't have a level up. It's a base level 1, but it always does the same thing. And you see a lot of people using them for ingenious thing, especially in Karma Run, for example, that when you trigger it and the enemies run into you, they get kicked back, which allow you to charge for an ultimate technique. So, you know, so there's very interesting strategy that go on using Fire Wheel in Ninja Gaiden Black. While here, as much as you say, looks pretty,
You don't see anyone use this.
you don't see anyone use this. And I mean, beside for that very specific fight here, like where the fuck would you use that in the game? You know, where the fuck would that be useful? Because I tried to question myself about it, and I don't know. I haven't found
Maybe
any.
someone out there is sitting on some really sick Phoenix strats. They've just...
But level
We don't even
3,
know
maybe?
yet.
Level 3, maxed out
I think
Phoenix.
level 1, just God brain usage.
God brain
just-
usage.
The greatest thing in the world.
Maybe we'll be proved wrong at some point. You
It's
know?
like me with Caltrops in Neo, dude. I'm bringing it back.
Did they bring it
They
back?
might
in the
only do
second
1 damage, but I'll show you some cool things.
It does it slow down the enemy? I mean, it does
It
1
actually
damage,
does,
but
yeah.
do something a little, you know, more.
If you stack it a little bit, it can give them a pseudo sloth.
So maybe if you put like 2 underground, it's gonna do 2 Tigray.
Exactly.
Uh,
So what happens if you put 10,000 underground? Think of the potential.
Yeah. You know what that makes me think of when you say that? One of the last video I've seen for Evil Within, when someone, I think, fighting the Keeper, where he just shoot like explosive crossbow bolt at the ground, and he must be planting like 30 in a circle, and then when the Keeper comes in, it's literally explosion, explosion, explosion. He dies straight up, and
Oh, wow.
I'm like, my God, dude, one heck of a
That's
one heck of a strat, you know. It's the dual Keeper fight. I never got to that section because, you know, I left that game at chapter 8
was
back
tricky,
then.
yeah.
But
Not
but
tricky.
it made me laugh. I was like, man, the ultimate, you know, cheese strat. So here also, okay, I'm not doing that fight. I mentioned that earlier. That fight is terrible. The environment is terrible. There's no safe point. You fight all around, and supposedly that there's around 50 of those fucker here. So it's just a big no-no. You nimbo there because you dispatch a wave, and then after you just run all the way to Genshin.
You do what we do. You run.
You run. Interesting thing also to talk about Genshin is that, well, you got straight up the reference because you watched the second one, but you know how I have come to just use the Tom Fuzz against him is definitely the better weapon when you learn his pattern. Because
you're doing the forward Y into full combo.
Yeah, I don't know what is the 360, but it does. The reason why Tom Fuzz is so good is not only the amount of damage that it does, but it's reliable to actually fight him with it, because Genshin has that thing where when you hit him once, you know, and you try to do a hit after, he's always gonna do a dodge, and that's kind of implemented in his programming. So basically, when you do it with the Tom Fuzz and you do the forward Y, sometimes he goes for that dodge, but then that's perfect because you only went for one move anyway. Compared to when, we'll say, you go with the claw, you know, and then you initiate a forward X and you miss, and you decide to do that back dash into a quick, you know, forward slash. Yeah. It's gonna fuck you up the majority of the time. And here, I think on that run, you see I'm gonna do some of these fancy combo at the end that I miss. I'm like, come on, you're trying to do it and be impressive, and I miss it. This one, I like that combo. It's an interesting one. And then I think I go with the forward square to finish the fight. There we go. And this is it. I mean, this is the chapter down. It went.
Monolith falls.
It went pretty. Yeah, it went pretty well overall. I mean,
Ninja Dog
took a lot of Ninja Dog. There we go. I deserve it. So anyway, guys,
Ninja.
I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm gonna let Mr. Seraphim conclude, and I will see you on chapter 12.
So the last time that we did this video, I went on a little bit of a soliloquy about how that is one of the most difficult levels in this game, and if you have any experience with it, you'll understand just how formidable that entire chapter is. So to see somebody do that without taking any damage is profound and history in the making, even though people have done that one before. It's just such a grueling slog of brutality that was navigated so elegantly by Godfather Dictator. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed everything you've seen so far, and you take care now.